Life isn't what's happening to you. Life is what's happening through you. Carl Jung discovered that everything we think we know about life is backwards. You're not living a life. Life is living you. You're not simply having experiences. You are the experience life is having of itself. After decades of studying thousands of lives, diving into the deepest layers of the human psyche, and confronting his own unconscious in ways that nearly shattered him, Jung arrived at an explanation of life so profound, so unsettling, that most people turn away from it. Not because it's too complex, but because it's terrifyingly simple. We usually imagine life as a timeline of events: childhood, career, relationships, aging, death. We imagine ourselves as the main character, trying to control the plot, to steer the story, to make something of it. But Jung saw something different. He realized that life is not random. It is not a chaotic storm of accidents and coincidences. Life is a precise psychological process, with a direction, a structure, a purpose. And here's the most radical part. You are both the subject and the object of that process. Every person you meet, every joy and every heartbreak, every success, every failure, it's all part of one movement. Life individuating through you. Consciousness becoming conscious of itself through the lens of your existence. This isn't abstract philosophy. It isn't mysticism. It is what Jung observed again and again in the patterns of dreams, in the stories of his patients, and in the upheavals of his own life. Once you see it, you can never look at your own existence the same way again, because life is not just happening outside you. It is unfolding within you, as you... Part 1. Life as a psychological process. Life is not a random series of events you're trying to survive. It's not a collection of accidents strung together by chance. Life is a process, a precise psychological process, with a very specific purpose. And here's the secret Jung uncovered. The purpose of life is to make the unconscious conscious. Think about that for a moment. Everything that happens to you, every joy, every loss, every conflict, it is all serving a single aim: to bring into awareness what is hidden, to turn what is unconscious into consciousness. You begin your life physically awake, but psychologically asleep. You don't know who you are, why you're here, or what forces are shaping your experience. You are like an actor who has forgotten they are in a play, believing the drama is real. And then life starts happening. That childhood wound that still aches in the background, that person who triggers you with just a glance, that pattern you keep repeating over and over again, none of these are accidents. Each is the unconscious knocking on the door of your awareness, asking to be seen. The trauma that broke your heart as a child, it created an unconscious complex that now drives your choices until you bring it to light. The partner who irritates or unsettles you, they are reflecting back a disowned part of yourself, waiting to be reclaimed. That recurring failure you can't seem to escape. It is not punishment. It is unconscious material demanding to become conscious. Jung saw this in every patient he treated. An alcoholic wasn't just battling a substance. They were being forced to face the pain they had buried deep within. A workaholic wasn't simply ambitious. They were being confronted with their unhealed sense of worth. The person chasing love again and again, they were reliving an abandonment complex until they could finally see it. Life itself was the therapist. Life itself was the mirror. Life itself was the laboratory where unconscious material became conscious. This is why Jung called life a consciousness-making machine. You are both the raw material and the finished product. You are both the clay and the sculpture. And here's the profound realization. This process is not happening to you. It is happening as you. You are not a person having experiences that slowly make you conscious. You are the very process of consciousness becoming conscious of itself. Jung experienced this most vividly during his Red Book period. He realized he wasn't Carl Jung having visions. He was the channel through which the collective unconscious was becoming aware of itself. His life was life knowing itself through him. When you see this, everything changes. Your suffering is no longer meaningless. Your challenges are no longer random. Every difficulty becomes evidence of life's deeper work, the unconscious transforming into consciousness, birth after birth. Part 2. Ego versus self, the inner dialogue. Jung discovered that every human life is structured as a dialogue, a conversation between two centers of consciousness, the ego and the self. The ego is who you think you are, your name, your story, your roles, your sense of being separate. It's the part of you that says, I want, I think, I am. The self, on the other hand, is who you actually are in totality. Not just the conscious mind, but the unconscious as well. Not just the personal, but the collective. Not just the human, but the archetypal, the transpersonal, the infinite. The ego is small, fragile, constantly seeking control. The self is vast, wise, and unshakable, with its own agenda for your life. And here's the brutal truth. These two are often in conflict. Your ego wants comfort. Your self wants growth. Your ego wants safety. Your self wants truth. Your ego wants to fit in. Your self wants to individuate. The ego clings to certainty. The self pushes for expansion. This tension between what you think you want and what life is actually asking of you is the stage upon which your entire existence plays out. Think of the crises you've faced, that sudden breakup that shattered your plans, that job you lost when you thought everything was secure, that unexpected illness, that betrayal, that turning point you never saw coming. Each one was not random misfortune. It was the self speaking to the ego. A message. The direction you are clinging to is too small. You must grow. And sometimes the self whispers gently through synchronicities or opportunities. Other times, it roars like a storm, tearing apart everything the ego has built. Jung himself lived this tension intensely. His ego wanted to be a respected Swiss psychiatrist, but his self demanded he plunge into visions, dialogue with archetypal figures, and even build stone towers to embody what was emerging. The strain nearly broke him until he realized the conflict itself was not pathology, it was life happening. The ego and the self are not enemies, they are partners in a cosmic dance. The ego builds structure, the self breaks it open. The ego says, "This is who I am." The self replies, "Yes, and so much more." When you understand this, your struggles stop looking like mistakes. Your disappointments stop looking like failures. Every tension becomes part of the conversation. The dialogue between who you think you are and who you really are. And life is that conversation. Part 3. Life as story. Here's what will truly shatter your sense of reality. Your life is not just happening, it is being narrated, and you are both the storyteller and the audience. We don't experience raw reality. We experience reality as story, woven together by meaning, shaped by memory, and filtered through the unconscious. Two people can live through the exact same event, and yet walk away living two entirely different lives. Why? Because one tells the story of trauma, while the other tells the story of transformation. One interprets loss as punishment, while another sees it as liberation. The events are identical. The stories, and therefore the lives, are completely different. But here's the deeper truth Jung uncovered. You are not consciously choosing your story. Your unconscious is writing it for you. It lays down patterns before you can even think, and you end up living inside those patterns, believing they are reality. Jung called these personal myths, invisible narratives that script the way we see ourselves, others, and the world. Some live inside the victim's myth. Life is happening to me. I am powerless. Others carry the hero's myth. I must overcome everything, no matter the cost. Still others are trapped in the martyr's myth. I must suffer for others to have worth. or the exile's myth? I don't belong anywhere, or the seeker's myth? The answer is always out there, somewhere beyond me. These myths are not conscious choices. They are unconscious programs, running the show from the shadows. Jung saw this with his patients again and again. A woman who believed, everyone abandons me. And sure enough, every relationship ended that way. Not because fate cursed her, but because her unconscious myth kept directing her choices. She sought out unavailable partners. She misinterpreted normal space as rejection. She lived, acted, and suffered inside the abandonment story. When Jung helped her see it, really see it, everything changed. Her circumstances didn't transform overnight, but her meaning did. She realized she wasn't just living life. She was living a story about life. And stories can be rewritten. That's the key. You can't escape story. We cannot live without narrative, but we can awaken to the myth we are in. You can choose. Will you remain the unconscious character, sleepwalking through someone else's script? Or will you become the conscious co-author, shaping your story with awareness? Jung himself recognized this in his own life. He knew he was living the myth of individuation, the myth of the explorer of the unconscious. And because he recognized it, he could participate in it fully, consciously, meaningfully. The privilege of a lifetime, he said, is to become who you truly are. But who you truly are is not a fixed thing. It is a story being told. And the question is, are you telling it unconsciously or consciously? Part 4. The stages of individuation. Life, Jung discovered, has one ultimate purpose: to make you whole. This is the process he called individuation. Not becoming perfect, but becoming complete. Not becoming better, but becoming real. And individuation follows recognizable stages. You begin life whole, but unconsciously whole. As a child, you are one with everything. But to survive in the world, you must build an ego, and to do that, you split yourself. I am this, not that. You create a persona, a mask to fit society, and you push everything else into the shadow. This is necessary. Without an ego, you could not function. But it comes at a cost, a deep inner division. In the first half of life, the ego rises. You build an identity. You chase achievement. You measure yourself by the world's standards of success and failure. This is natural, but incomplete. Then, usually in midlife, the structure begins to crack. What once worked, stops working. Who you thought you were no longer fits. This is the so-called midlife crisis. But Jung saw it not as breakdown, but as breakthrough trying to happen. Next comes the encounter with the shadow. All the parts of yourself you've rejected, anger, envy, grief, desire, they return. At first, they look like demons. But if you can face them, they reveal themselves as disowned power, creativity, and authenticity. Then comes the encounter with the anima or animus, your inner feminine or inner masculine. This plays out in relationships through attraction and projection until you realize you are meeting yourself in the other. Finally, there is the emergence of the self, not the ego, not the persona, not even the shadow, but the organizing principle that holds all opposites, light and dark, masculine and feminine, good and evil, in a greater unity. This is not a linear journey you take once. It is a spiral, repeating at deeper levels as life unfolds. Each relationship individuates you. Each dream individuates you. Each crisis individuates you. Jung himself lived this process consciously. His childhood loneliness pushed him inward. His break with Freud shattered old identities but birthed his independence. His confrontation with the unconscious nearly destroyed him, but gave him his life's work. Nothing was wasted, nothing was wrong. Everything served individuation, and the same is true for you. Your life is not trying to make you happy, it is trying to make you whole. And wholeness includes all of it. The triumphs and the failures, the light and the shadow, the joy and the pain. This is the deeper current of life, and it is always moving you toward yourself. Part 5. Consciousness experiencing itself. Here is the ultimate realization Jung reached. You are not simply living a life, you are the way life is living itself. Consciousness is not something you have, it is what you are, and not just your small, personal consciousness, but consciousness itself, universal, infinite, experiencing existence through the narrow lens of your being. Think about this. You are not a human being who sometimes touches the spiritual. You are spirit, temporarily having a human experience. You are not consciousness locked inside a body. You are consciousness as a body, experiencing what it means to be limited, mortal, fragile, because that is the only way the infinite can truly know itself. How could endless life ever taste the sweetness of love without risking the pain of loss? How could infinite being ever grasp the urgency of time without living inside a body that can die? How could boundless spirit ever experience growth without beginning in limitation? Through your struggles, consciousness experiences limitation. Through your joy, it experiences expansion. Through your relationships, it knows both separation and union. Through your suffering, it feels what transcendence requires. Jung saw this in the very structure of the psyche. The self contains everything, every possibility, every opposite, but it can only know itself through the ego, through your particular story, your particular joys and sorrows. Your ego is not a mistake. It is the necessary lens through which the self comes to know itself. Your life is not a random accident. It is consciousness experimenting with what it means to be you. This is why Jung insisted that every life is sacred, not because of achievements or perfection, but because each of us is a one-time window through which the universe experiences itself. Jung knew this firsthand. During his visions, he saw that he wasn't Carl Jung having experiences of the collective unconscious. He was the collective unconscious experiencing itself as Carl Jung. His life was life-knowing life, through his eyes, his hands, his struggles, his heart, and the same is true for you. Your problems are not just your problems. They are consciousness exploring what it feels like to wrestle with limits. Your relationships are not just personal dramas. They are life discovering itself through union and separation. Your death will not simply be an ending. It will be consciousness transforming itself through the gateway of mortality. You are not trying to live a good life. Life itself is living through you. And your deepest task is simply to allow it, to be as fully yourself as possible, so consciousness can have the complete experience of being you, an experience it has never had before and never will again. So now, step back for a moment. Your life is not an accident. It is not a test you can fail. It is not even yours in the way you've been taught to believe. Life is unconscious becoming conscious. It is the dialogue between ego and self. It is the story your psyche tells itself to become whole. It is consciousness experiencing itself through the unique, unrepeatable lens of you. Once you understand this, everything shifts. Your problems stop feeling like punishments. Your struggles stop feeling meaningless. Your whole existence takes on the weight of sacredness. Because every moment, the joy, the heartbreak, the confusion, the breakthrough, is life doing its one true work, bringing itself to awareness. This means you are not lost. You are exactly where consciousness needs you to be. You are not failing. You are playing your part perfectly. You are not separate. You are life itself, remembering itself. So ask yourself, what story are you living right now? What is life trying to experience through you here today? Take a breath and know that your life, with all its light and shadow, is meaningful beyond measure. If this message resonates with you, share your reflections in the comments below. Which part spoke to you most deeply? What patterns of life do you now see differently? And if you're ready to explore more of Jung's insights about shadow work, individuation, and the deep mysteries of the psyche, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who may need to hear it. Because the more consciously we live, the more consciously life itself awakens. Remember, you are not merely living, you are how life knows itself, and that knowing is the privilege of your existence.